Hello and welcome to one of my next videos on religious organisations and movements. So today we're going to be looking at the New Age movement and what this all means for us. Now, we can always refer to the New Age or NAMS as a result, and this is a new area predominantly rising in the 1980s, and it's something by which is quite topical and holds quite a value in terms of our modern society. Now, the reason why it holds quite a lot of value in terms of our modern society is because with our hectic lifestyles and 24/7 stress schedules, etc., this NAM or New Age movement allows us the ability to actually learn to be centered, to try to gain enlightenment, to really focus on spirituality rather than trying to get through to the next day. Now, this is something which helps individuals feel more acclimatized and be able to deal with the wider world. And it's something which is very interesting as to what it actually provides members with in terms of a belief system. Now, we're going to start moving into the definitions and examples in terms of New Age. Now, the term New Age became prominent in the 1980s. However, beliefs similar to what is now called New Age were presented in earlier decades in some new religious movements and cults. So, in a general sense here, the New Age refers to a set of beliefs and activities which contain a spiritual element but are not organised in the same way as traditional religion, meaning that they are providing an individual with an alternative way of living. Now, often New Age beliefs exist independent of any organisations and spread through the aspects of culture such as films, music, books, shops and seminars, meaning people are more likely to be drawn into this and try to experience it on their own individual levels, through their intellectual curiosity or through the need of fulfilling that spiritual thirst which needs to be quenched. Or quite simply, if we look at the films as an example, the Eat, Pray, Love generation, by which the people are now exploring these alternative movements because they've seen potentially it can be life-changing. Which means as a result, as people, when they get older or when they're relatively young, they go travelling and trying to explore these different areas within the world, trying to find a movement which best satisfies their needs. So as you can see there, my picture demonstrates that for you. Now, as I've previously highlighted, they do operate independent of any existing organisations, meaning that they will not hold any of their traditional churches' viewpoints or try to reinforce them by any stretch of the imagination. Now, Paul Heelis here, et al. In 2000, describes the environment in which the New Age exists as the Holistic Milieu, which means that there's an environment by which allows these New Age movements to really start to flourish, meaning people are starting to seek spiritual experiences and personal experiences which are life-affirming or rewarding in some sense. Now, unlike the congregational domain, which is what we would consider to be the traditional religions, such as Christianity, where people meet regularly for collective worship, the holistic milieu involves more one-to-one activities. So, for example, between a healer and a client, and smaller group activities, so such as yoga classes, by which people search to find their centre and seek to be enlightened in some sense. Now, here are a few examples in terms of New Age movements. So one of the examples here is Clairvoyance, so the ability to see into the future or be able to provide an individual some understanding as to how their life may possibly progress if they follow a particular path. Paganism, witchcraft or magic, by which obviously individuals try to believe that following and using particular spells, rituals or ruins, they can change their life in a variety of ways, meaning that they themselves have got the power and the ability to do what they want within their lives without any form of other supernatural force being at play. Then we've got spirit guides and spirit animals, but like Derek Decora type thing, by which again provides some form of guidance for individuals as to how they should live their lives. Feng Shui, which is all about arranging furniture in a particular way to ensure that there's the correct energy flow. And with that correct energy flow, that means certain traits within your life may improve. So rearranging where you put your couch, etc., depending on the position of the light in the room, could maybe increase the amount of wealth that comes into the family. The next one that we've got here is the Findhorn community in Scotland, which grows vegetables with the help of plant spirits, by which they believe that by growing plants and nurturing them, we believe that, and in a return of that, these plants, these spirits are helping us to grow as well as individuals. And then the next one we've got is Scientology. Obviously, that is more self-help than anything. What we've got with Mr. Hubbard's book there is a very self-help like book. The principles or main understanding of Scientology is to help the individual believe that they've got the power to create, and therefore by that manifestation of that ability, they are able to, as a result, become more successful and more influential within wider society. Now, the New Age beliefs are extremely diverse, and we really need to acknowledge that, because even though they all fall within the same idea of, okay, they are different from the traditional churches, they are very underground in some senses, they are extremely diverse. Even if we look at the previous examples on the other slide, we've got clairvoyance to paganism, we've got feng shui, and then we've got the Findhorn Community Project. They are extremely different from one another. Now, what Paul Heelas argues here is that he's identified two main themes that run through a variety of these New Age movements. Now, the first one we've got here is self-spirituality. Now, instead of looking to a traditional religion, you look within inside yourself for a sense of spirituality. Rather than worshipping external gods, attempt to perfect yourself and discover your own hidden spiritual depths. So only through that exploration and that guidance and journey that you can take means that you can find what you are actually looking for and what you are missing within your life. The next one is Traditional Ization. Now, this is a rejection of traditional sources of authority, such as churches and conventional moral or ethical values. You are responsible for your own actions and for discovering your own truth, now through getting in touch with your spirituality. Now, this means you have to do an awful lot of searching and find a new belief system which enables you to grow even more so. Now, despite the existence of these common themes, according to Heelas, there are variations within the New Age as a result of this. Now, just an essential note from the textbook there, which I thought was very good. So, some of these characteristics may reflect general changes in society as a whole, and these may be more impacting on more traditional religions as a result. So, even though these characteristics we are saying are wholehearted as a result of New Age, they are going to have a big influence on wider traditional religions as well. Now, the variations within this are the following. So, the world affirming with emphasis on the outer world. So, focus on the practical usefulness of the New Age movement. So, for achieving objectives such as, e.g. with transcendental meditation, practice the mantras or the chants, which will then hopefully help you become more confident. And as you become more confident, you may become more successful within your career choice that you are looking at. Next one is world rejecting with an emphasis on the inner world of the individual. So focus upon turning away from the world and worldly success towards inner reflection. Now, our perfect person of that is the Eat, Pray, Love, again, the movie with Julia Roberts, by which she went out, she rejected the world, and she sought that inner reflection. Now, our perfect example is Buddhist meditation. They are not materialist in any stretch of the imagination. They sit there, they believe, they chant, they meditate, and that is all to help them become more centered and more in tune with the wider universe as well. Now, best of both worlds with both an inner and outer emphasis. Now, it combines a desire for spiritual satisfaction and worldly success. Now, most aspects of the New Age, e.g. the spiritual healing, combine the two as a result. Now, the next area we're looking at is the reasons for the growth of the New Age. Now, a postmodernist such as John Drain here in 1999 sees the growth of New Age as a response to the failure on the emphasis on science and material success in modernity. Now, the Enlightenment periods of the 17th and 18th centuries claim that science and rationality could solve the world's problems. As we know, it has not been able to, because it cannot provide some of the answers to those existential questions within life, such as death, famine, poverty, cancer, etc. Now, however, events such as global warming have shown that harm can be done in the name of progress. So therefore, what we're going to see as a result, the New Ages are turning away from science to an era post-modernity where they look for inner spiritual satisfaction, meaning they're rejecting the idea of progress is the best thing, meaning that actually we need to take a step back and focus more back on ourselves and back on the planet. Now, Steve Bruce, who I'm sure you're sick of hearing his name by now, does not believe we have moved into era of post-modernity, but sees that the New Age as a product of modernity. Now, modernity emphasises individualism and sees that the New Age as an extreme version of individualism. As we know, the individualization thesis is primarily running through most of our topics, that people are more focused on themselves rather than community. They want to go on this journey for their own reasons. Now, the New Age is closely linked to the human potential movement, in which people believe that through self-improvement they can achieve perfection and in doing so improve the world about them. Now, the New Age particularly appeals to people such as journalists, actors, writers and counsellors. Now, the reason as to why it really appeals to these people is because it helps them try to achieve the best versions of themselves. By doing so, they'll become relatively more successful and more of a household name. Now, these generally university educated middle classes have experienced personal development and believe that this is the way to achieve progress. Now, the New Age is also a symptom of the relativism of knowledge in an individualistic society. So truth depends upon your personal viewpoint rather than objective truth. So these individuals are going to explore this and try to gain an understanding of what spirituality actually means for them. So it could be someone like Madonna, who really publicised the use of Kabbalah to really show through her spiritual growth and development. Or someone like Tom Cruise, who went through Scientology and showed that actually the focus on himself and made him more successful and more of a rounded person. Now, again, Paul Heelis also sees the New Age as a product of modernity. He argues that there's 4 aspects of modernity that give rise to the New Age. So the first one is people have a multiplicity of roles, so they lose a sense of their true self. Now, the New Age helps to restore this. So it helps individuals find back the journey back to themselves and focusing back on their own spiritual and social moral developments rather than focusing on their career orientation as a result. Next one is consumer culture encourages people to attain perfection through what they buy. They attempt to achieve spiritual perfection is an extension of this. Now, people will see that potentially you can just buy spirituality by going away to so for example in America, leaving to go to the Berkshires to go to a New Age retreat for 2 weeks. This is seen as someone going back and really fulfilling their own spiritual journey. Meanwhile, that's not really the case, because a spiritual journey takes a lot longer and a lot more time than just what you can buy. Now, people believe that because they buy it, they can obtain perfection through this. Now, the last couple of points here. Now, in a rapidly changing society when traditional norms and values are being disrupted, people use spiritual beliefs to avoid insecurity. Now, it just provides them that sense of stability and connection with community. Now, the decline of traditional religions such as Christianity leaves a spiritual gap, which is partially filled by the New Age. However, it's not completely filling what those traditional congregational domains or religions really fulfilled or gave to people. It's providing a stopgap by which people then can use this to explore and search for a new form of religion. And just the last point here. Now, Healers claims that the New Age is part of a spiritual revolution involving a shift towards subjective life and away from traditional religions, by which where religions really are now focusing on your own development rather than what I can do for my community. Now, just another essential note from the textbook. So, the idea of spiritual revolution implies that one type of spirituality is replacing another. So, spiritual beliefs remain important, but the nature of those beliefs have changed. So, these issues are discussed in more details in the sections of secularization, which we will be doing in a little bit. That's it for today. Any questions? Let me know.